In this Bootstrap 4 project, we're going to be building a portfolio page, a very simple one, however very useful. And over here you can see what we're going to be doing. We're going to create a navbar and we're going to place the links all the way on the right side, right? Then we're going to do the banner section and we're going to place the image, and over here we're going to put the image on the background and we'll do actually an overlay. Over here we're going to do a John Doe kind of title, right, with a GitHub and LinkedIn buttons. Then over here we're going to use a Flexbox in order to place let's say these skills sections, right, side by side with font awesome, right? So we have text on one side, the font awesome is going to be on the other. Then over here this is going to be a simple filler, right? We're going to have a contact me, and then over here this is going to be a button, and this is going to be a simple project or portfolio section, right, where we're going to have a picture, and over here we're going to have a title and a paragraph, and then over here it's going to be just a icons, right, the social media icons, and over here this is going to be a footer. So overall very simple, however very basic and very useful project for us to do. Now the setup for this project is going to be, as always, we're going to see that this is going to be a font awesome over here, right, in my CSS. Over here you can see that I already did the CSS, but I'm going to delete it once we start working. But you can see that this is how long it is going to be, and over here this is going to be our index HTML, right? So let's get going and let's start working on this project. The first section we're going to be building is going to be a banner section. So over here I'm just going to write that this is going to be a section, and we're going to give it an ID of banner. And then within that section we're going to place first the container right over here. And then within that container we're going to place a row, but the row is going to have multiple other classes, right? The first one is going to be max viewport for the full size screen. Then we're going to use a flexbox over here, and we're going to say align items over here, and we're going to say that this is going to be center, right? So they're centrally vertically. And then over here we're going to say text center, right? So that's going to be for the text. So over here, now that we have the row, we obviously can place two divs, right? Two columns over here. And what I'm going to say that this is going to be a column over here, medium, right? So it's going to be on a medium size. It's going to be half. But over here, because this is going to be an image, and I actually want to hide it on a smaller screens, I'm going to write D none, right? And then I'm going to add another class. This is going to be D medium, and over here I'm going to say this is going to be a block. So now that we're done with this one, we can actually place an image inside here. So what I'm going to say that this is going to be image, and this is going to be source, and over here I'm going to say that this is going to be images, and this is going to be banner person over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add two more classes. So over here we're going to say that this is going to be image, right, and we're going to be fluid, and over here we're going to say that this is going to be a rounded, and we're going to say that this is going to be a thumbnail, right? So this is going to be this image. Now what we would need to do is actually make sure that we have the viewport, right? So if we go to main CSS, let's say that we're going to say that this is going to be max viewport over here, and then what we're going to say that this is going to be minimal height, right? And we're going to say this is going to be 100 over here like this, right? But the reason why we don't see the image right now, right, because we are less than medium, right? So now I can see that if I go to a medium screen, it's going to be exactly half the size, right? So if we go back, and then we're going to go to index HTML, and we're going to keep on adding the column, right, because we have only one and we actually need two, right? So now that we're done with this column, we're going to over here underneath going to create another one, and over here we're going to say that this is going to be a column. It's going to be spanning 12 this is going to be spanning over 12 columns. And then over here we're going to say that starting from a small screen, it's actually going to take a half the size, right? So we're going to say small 6, right? Now the problem is that it's going to be to one side, to left side. So over here we're going to add another class. This is going to place the text, actually the column, exactly in the center. This is going to be MX Auto. And over here we're going to add another class. This is going to be a margin for top bottom over here like this, right? So now when we close this one out, now we can start placing a text over here in this div, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do is this is going to be h1, and I'm going to say this is going to be a class, and over here I'm going to say that this is going to have a text, right? And I'm going to write white right now, right? But it's going to make a little bit problem for us to see what we're doing because we haven't added the image yet, right? So I'm just going to say text white and text over here uppercase over here like this, and then I'm going to write a John Doe, right? And just to show you that we actually have a stuff on the screen, right? You just see that this is the problem with text white, that for now it's hiding actually what we're doing, right? But in order to fix that, we can go back over here and we can actually place our background image that we want, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a image, right? So over here I'm just going to say that I'm going to be targeting a banner, right? And I'm going to place a image in the background, but I would want to place a overlay over it, right? So first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to say background, right? Then I'm going to say this is going to be linear, and I'm going to say gradient, right? So once I have that, and I'm going to create a little bit more room. So I'm going to say RGBA over here, and then I'm going to say 139. Then I'm going to say this is going to be 69. This is going to be 19, and this is going to be 0.6, right? Then after that, we would want to place another RGB. So over here, we're going to say RGBA over here, and we would actually want the same one, right? So we're not going to be very creative. We're just going to actually exactly create the same one, right? So now that we have this, you can see that this is going to be our gradient, right? But we're not done yet. We actually want to place the image also, right? So we're going to say that this is going to be images, right? And the name of the images is going to be banner person over here, person, and JPEG, right, over here. And then we just need to add a couple more things, right? So the first thing that we're going to say that this is going to be a background, and we're going to say that this is going to be attachment. This is going to be fixed for a scrolling effect. Then we're going to say that this is going to be a background position, and we're going to say that this is going to be a center. Then we're going to say that background repeat, no repeat over here. And then we're going to say that this is going to be background size is going to be cover. Background size over here. Background size, and we're going to say this is going to cover, right? So you can see that how it spans across the screen, sorry, not across the street. And once we have this CSS done, we're going to actually add it to a couple of more divs that we're going to create later, right? A couple of more actually IDs, right? So over here, I need to place this comma. And over here, what I'm going to say, this is going to be contact, right? And then we're going to say that this is going to be a social, right? And don't worry about them right now. These are the two IDs that we're going to be creating later on, right? And now we can go back and actually continue working over here with this H1, right? So we're done with this, and now we would want to place a couple of more links actually, right? So we're going to say, I'm going to say this is going to be a link, and this is going to href, and it's just pretty much going to go nowhere. I'm going to say class, and then I'm going to add multiple classes, right? So I'm going to say button large over here, and then I'm going to say this is going to be button, and this is going to be outline, and over here I'm going to say this is going to be warning, and here I'm going to say text uppercase, and here I'm going to say this is going to have margin all around, and this is also going to have a padding all around, right? So what we can do is we can place over here, we can say that this is going to be a GitHub, right? But before we do that, I would actually want to place a font awesome icon, right? So I'm going to say this is going to be I, this is going to be fa over here, and I'm going to say GitHub over here like this, and then I'm going to say that this is also going to have a class of margin right 2, right? So now that we have that, you can see that I got my GitHub icon, right? So over here, if we write GitHub, right, GitHub over here like this, now we have our one of our buttons, right? And the only thing we need to do over here is we're just going to copy this one, and over here we're going to say that this is going to be linked in, right? So we're just going to change this one around. I'm going to say linked over here in, and obviously we would need to change this one too, right? The font awesome icon, right? So we're going to go back and we're going to say that this is going to be linked in, right? So now you can see that we have both of them over here. And what we would need to do is actually just to see how it actually looks in a bigger screen, right? So now you can see this is what we're going to have. We're going to have a image and we're going to have two buttons over here, right? So now that we're done with this section, we can actually move on to a next section and start building the next section. And the next section we're going to be building is going to be over here, this quality section, right? And we're going to be using a Flexbox over here. Well, the built-in Flexbox in a Bootstrap to actually get these icons right side by side over here instead of placing them all the way on the top like we normally do, right? So over here, I'm just going to create a comment and I'm going to say this is going to be a qualities, right? So qualities section over here. And then I'm going to start saying that this is going to be a section over here. And I'm going to say that this is going to have ID of qualities, right? Then I'm going to say that this is going to have a couple of classes. The first one is going to be a padding, top and bottom. I'm going to say this is going to be 5. And then I'm going to say that this is going to have this gray background. So I'm going to say BG secondary, right? So then we're going to build this section, right? Then we're going to make this one a little bit smaller, right? So we can see better what we're doing, right? And we're going to create actually a little bit more space. So over here, and then over here, we're going to write this is going to be container, row, and a column, right? So over here, we're going to say container, and then we're going to say this is going to be row over here within that container, right? We're going to say row, and then within that row, we're going to add a few more classes, and we're going to say that first class is going to be align items, right? This is again going to be placing them right vertically in the center. And then we're going to say that this is going to be a center, right? And then we're going to say that this is going to be a text center over here. So now we have the vertically and actually horizontally we are in the center. So now we would want to place a few columns. So what I'm going to say over here is I'm going to say that this is going to be a div, right? That's going to be with the class of column, right? Small. And over here, I'm going to say this is going to be 12. And then we're going to say that it's going to be spanning in a medium, right? So we're going to say this is going to be a medium. Over here, we're going to say this is going to be 6. And then on a large one, it's going to be actually only 4, right? So here, we're going to say column large. We're going to say 4 over here, right? We can not write this small anyway. It just sometimes helps me to kind of realize what I'm doing and on what screen, right? I mean, I know it's a little bit of extra typing, so if you don't want to write this small, you don't need to write it. The result is going to be exactly the same. And over here, we're going to say that a couple more classes, text white. Then we're going to say that this is going to have a margin, top and bottom. This is going to be 3. And also, we're going to use it as a deflex, right? So we're going to create a parent of Flexbox, right? So now that we have this one in, now we can actually place our first font awesome, right? So we're going to create I, and I'm going to say this is going to be fa, and over here we're going to say this is going to be wrench, and then we're going to say this is going to be fa 5 times, and then we're going to say this is going to have margin on the right. This is going to have 3, and we're going to say align center, and over here we're going to say that align self center, and then over here we can actually close this one out, right? So now when we close it out, you can see that we have a wrench over here. And now what we would want to do is actually create a div, and we're going to give it a class of inner text. This is not going to be Bootstrap class. This is going to be our own class. And over here within this div, we're going to place actually a h1 over here with a class of my 3, which is going to be for the margins, top and bottom, right, over here. And we can actually also create, let's say, a paragraph of class of lead, right? So now that we have that, we have h1, and over here we're going to say that this is going to be hard work, and over here we're going to say this is going to be lorem ipsum, right? So this is going to be a dummy text, right? So we're going to, let's say, add two of them over here, and now we have a dummy text, right? So let's go over these classes, because the next thing what we need to do is actually only copy it, right? So in order to get them side by side, right, the most important part was over here with the column that we created as a dflex, right? So this is a parent container for the Flexbox. Now everything inside here is actually Flexbox items, right? So what are those Flexbox items? Well, one of them over here is Phantasm, and the other one is actually this div, right? So we placed them both together over here, so now they're acting as a div. And because by default it sets it as a row, and it puts them side by side. And over here, what we needed to do in order to place this Phantasm, you can see that it's going to be sitting right on the top, right? But if we add over here this Flexbox class, align center, align cell center, right? So we can place it in the center, and now they're sitting neatly side by side. And the only thing left for this section to do is actually take this div, check it out where it ends over here, copy this once, twice, and then we're just going to change a few things around, right? So we're going to assign where is the wrench, and over here we're going to put something else. We're going to say that this is going to be a refresh over here, and we're going to say that we're always learning new skills, learning, right? And over here where is hard work, we're going to delete this guy, and we're going to say that this is going to be reliable. Hopefully I'm spelling it correctly. And over here, once it is reliable, we would also need a handshake, right? Handshake Phantasm. So we're going to say handshake, and over here we're going to say this is going to be all, right? So now we have handshake icon. And if we go back over here, you can see that how easy it was to actually do, right? Now the one thing probably, right, what we would want to do is actually we would want to place it over here, right? So you can see on medium it actually goes to the left, right? And we don't want that. So for the last one, only for the last one, we would go back over here, and we could actually delete this M6. Just say that all the time you would want it to be full screen, unless we're going over here to the large, right? So if right now we're going back, right? So now all of them over here, but then you can see that only this one is actually full screen. Now, if we wanted to make it smaller, what we can always do, right? We can go back. We have this 6, let's say, right? So over here, we're going to say that this is going to be column, right? And we're going to say this is going to be medium 6, but we would need to add this MX auto, right? Over here, and over here, if we go back right now, right? Now you can see that it's sitting exactly in the middle where we want it, right? So this is going to be it for this section, right? And now we're ready to move on to the next section. And the next section we're going to be building is going to be over here, this small filler or contact me section, right? So we go back over here. We're going to go all the way in the bottom over here. I'm going to place a comment. I'm going to say this is going to be a contact section over here. And then we're going to start saying that this is going to be a section. Here we're going to say this is going to be ID. We're going to say this is going to be contact. Then we're going to say that this is going to be class, and this is going to be padding all around. Right, so I'm going to say class, padding all around. And then over here, we're going to place a container, right? Container. Then within that container, we would want to place a row. So over here, row. And then we're going to add a couple more classes. First is going to be text center over here. Then I'm going to say that this is going to be align items in the center, right? This is going to be a flexbox, right? Items, center. So this is going to put them vertically in the center. And then I'm going to say that I want a justify content between, right? So this is going to be spreading them out to the sides, right? Justify over here, content. And this is going to be between, right? So now that we're done with this one, we can actually close this one out, and then we can create a column, right? So we're going to say this is going to be column, and this is going to be on a small screen. It's going to start having half the screen. And over here, another class is going to be a margin, top, bottom, over here too, right? So this is going to be this div, and what are we going to place within this div? We're going to say that this is going to be a H1 over here, and we're going to say that this is going to be text white, and over here we're going to say that this is going to be text uppercase. And once we have that, we can actually place whatever text we're going to be placing. And I'm going to say contact over here, me, right? And we can not like this, but we can go to the back over here and we can close it out. And you can see that now we have contact me, right? And the next one, we would need to see where this div ends, right? So we go over here somewhere and we're going to say this is going to be column small over here. Again, it's going to be 6. And again, it's going to be the same class. This is going to be a margin top bottom 2. And over here, we're going to actually place a link, right? So now we have the div. We're going to say this is going to be href over here. And we're going to say this is going to be a dummy link. And over here, we're going to have a few classes, right? This is going to be class of button. And this is going to be button large. Then we're going to say this is going to be button outline. And over here, we're going to say warning. And here we're going to say text, uppercase. And over here, we're going to say a send me a note, right? So this is going to be a text. So we're going to say send me a note, right? So now we have 2 of them. And now that we're ready with this, we can just save this one, right? And see what's happening, right? So if we go to the bigger screen, right, you can see what's happening, that they're sitting exactly where we want them to, right? And we're actually ready over here to move on to a next section. And the next section we're going to be building over here, this is going to be a portfolio or project section, right? So we're going to have 4 wannabe projects over here. So we're going to go back over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to place a comment and we're going to say this is going to be a portfolio section. And then over here, what we would want to do is start building by section, right? Then we're going to say this is going to be a portfolio section. And we're going to add a couple of classes. This is going to be a padding all around. Then we're going to say this is going to have a background light. So now that we have this section, then the next thing that we would want to do is, again, do a container. And then we're going to say that within this container, we're going to actually place a row. And that row is going to have no classes. It's going to be pretty simple row over here. And the first thing that we would want to do here, we'd want a column that's going to be starting to span over 6 columns in a small screen, right? So here, and then another class, this is going to be margin top bottom 3, right? So now that we have this one, we can actually place an image over here. So we're going to say image, and here we're going to say source, and this is going to be images, and we're just going to say this is going to be project 1, and over here we're going to say this is going to be class, and this is going to be image, fluid, and rounded class. Yeah. So you can see that I didn't put the quotation marks. So 1 and 2 over here. And now if we close it out, obviously we would probably put a alternative, right? So this is going to be picture, but I always, for these small projects, always keep forgetting about that, right? So now we have our first one. So now we would want a heading 1. Over here, we're going to say this is going to be heading 1. And this is going to have a class. We're going to say this is going to have a class of, let's say, and this is going to have a margin 3, right? So this is going to push top and bottom. And over here, we're going to say project, and we're going to say this is going to be 1. So this is going to be project 1. Maybe let's make this one a little bit smaller so we can actually work over here. And over here, we're going to just place some dummy text. We're going to say this is going to be a paragraph class over here, and this is going to be text muted, right? And over here, we're going to say just this is going to be lorem, and this is going to be also lorem, right? So 2 dummy texts over here. And then what we can do is, obviously, we can just copy this one over here. So if we find over here, where is our column, right? And you can see why we're placing this a margin, right? For the smaller screen, so they wouldn't bump into each other, right? So we go over here, find where it ends, and we just go 1, 2, 3, right? And the only thing actually what we need to change was over here, if we find where is project 1. So if we go over here, and let's say that I'm going to find all 4 of them, right? So over here, I would probably change 4. Or here, I'm going to say this is going to be a 3, and this is also going to be 2, right? And over here, we're going to say also this is going to be a 4, this is going to be 3, and this is going to be 2. Over here like this, right? So now if we scroll down here, right, you can see what's happening. Now we have our project section. So we're done with this section, right? And we're actually ready to move on. Before we do that, you can see that I placed 2 project 4s. So over here, this is 3. Right, now we have 2 different pictures. So now that we're done with this one, we can actually save this one and actually move on to the next section. Next, we're going to build actually 2 more sections over here. This is going to be this font awesome. And over here, again, this is going to be footer. And just if you're wondering where we are right away getting these images, remember that over here in the main CSS, right, we actually set them right away, right? So instead of jumping back and forth, we set it so it is sitting there and we don't need to worry about it, right? So what do we do over here? Again, we're going to go to a bottom, and over here, we're going to say that this is going to be a social section. So we're going to say like this is going to be social. And over here, we're going to say this is going to be a section. Over here, div, and we're going to say this is going to be social. And then we're going to have a class, and the class is just going to be a padding class. And then over here, we're going to have a container. And this one, we're going to create a container fluid, just so they're spanning more to the edges over here. And then we're going to create a row over here. I'm going to say this is going to be row. And we're going to say this is going to be align, right? Items center, right? So we're going to say over here, align items center. And then we're going to close this one out. And now then we have this, we're going to actually place a div, right? So we're going to say this is going to be column 12. And over here, we're going to say this is going to have a deflex, right? So this is going to be a flex box. And over here, we're going to say justify content between. Over here, between. So now that we have this, we actually need to place 3 links with font awesome icons in there, right? So we'll say A, and over here we're going to say href, and over here we're just going to put a hashtag, right? And then within here we're going to place I, and we're going to say fa, and over here next class is going to be Facebook over here. I'm going to say fa Facebook over here, and we're going to say that this is going to be fa 5 times bigger, and then we're going to say that this is going to be a text over here, warning class, and over here we're going to say this is going to have margin all around is going to be 3, right? So now that we have our font awesome over here, now we're actually ready to paste some more of them, right? So we're going to grab this guy, and what we're going to do is we're going to take 1, 2, so now we have 3 of them, right? And you can see how they're actually avoiding. That's because of this justify content between, right? Because we made this column actually a parent, Flexbox content parent, right? So these are going to be the Flexbox items. So over here, what we would want to do is change over here. This is going to be a Twitter, and this one over here is going to be Instagram over here. And again, if you can see, if I'm going to do this, right, you can see how they're actually stacked right next to each other, right? But if we say over here, justify content between, they're going to be pushing away from each other as far as they can. And that's why we created this container fluid, right? So they have a little bit more space, right? Just with the container class, it wouldn't be possible. And over here, we're just going to say this is going to be footer, and this is going to be a, say, section, and here we're going to say footer, and then we're going to say this is going to have a class of padding, again, 5 all around, and this is going to be background dark. And then if we close this one out, and then we're going to say this is going to be container, right? And then within that container, we're going to have a column that's going to be spanning all across the screen. So over here, we're going to say that this is going to be a row first. And then within a row, we're going to say that this is going to be column. And we can just write it like this if we want to span all across the screen, right? Text 12, right? So now we have a, not text 12, sorry, text center. Text 12 is not even an option, right? And over here, we're just going to say this is going to be a H4, and we're going to add a few more classes. We're going to say this is going to be text white. Then we're going to say this is going to be text, let's say capitalize over here, and we're just going to close this one out, and we're going to say this is going to be copy. Over here, where is my ampersand? I'm going to say copy, and here we're going to say this is going to be copyright, and we're going to say that this is going to be 2017, and next one is going to be a coding addict, right? And now that we're done with this section, we're actually ready to jump to a navbar section, right? So let me just save this one over here. Now we have our footer, and we have our social icon, and we would need to scroll actually all the way to the top, and let's do it over here also, and we would need to start creating navbar, right? So here I'm just going to say that this is going to be banner, and over here I'm just going to say, no, I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to say that this is going to be nav, right? So now that we have both of them ready, we can actually start styling our nav. And over here in the nav, we're going to say that this is going to be a nav, right, with few classes. Navbar class, first of all, then it's going to be navbar expand, and I'm going to say this is going to only expand on a small screen, right? So all the way to the small screen, it's actually going to stay as a navbar, and only then it's going to actually have the collapse, right? Then we're going to add a class that we're going to create our own. This is going to be transparent over here. And then we're going to say that the actual navbar, let's say buttons, is going to be navbar dark. And you'll see what happens. Then actually buttons are going to change color. Over here, we're going to say this is going to have padding 3. We're going to make it thicker. And over here, we're going to say fixed top over here. So we're going to say over here, fixed top. Right, so these are going to be our classes. Now, one thing that you want to do right away with your navbar is actually on a main CSS, right? And if we go over here, you can see the body, and we actually need to create a margin top, right? So this is going to be margin top, and we're going to create like something like 70 pixels, right? So it pushes away a little bit to actually and gives more space to the navbar, right? So now I can see where we have our navbar. And maybe 70 we're going to be too much, we'll see. But over here, once we start working with a navbar, what we would want to do, we would actually want a div, right? So we're going to say this is going to be container. So we're going to place our whole nav in a container over here. And then within that container, the first thing that we want to do is actually create a navbar brand. Right, so we're going to say over here that this is going to be a navbar brand. Right, this is where we're going to create that John Doe. So what I'm going to say over here, this is going to be a href, right? Over here, this is going to be a link, and we're going to say this is going to have a class, and the class is going to be navbar brand class. Right. So now that we close this one out, we can actually place in the middle. This is going to be John Doe, right? And over here, it is hard to see because we have a navbar class, navbar dark class, because we're going to be adding actually a different color over here, right? So don't worry. Well, let's do it right now over here, right? So you see over here this transparent, right? The only thing we need to do is main CSS and actually create a color, right? So we're going to go to main CSS, and we're going to say this is going to be transparent class. And what we're going to do, we're going to say this is going to be a background color, and we're going to say that this color is going to be RGBA over here, and we're going to say 175. Then this is going to be 76. This is going to be a 6, and this is actually going to be 0.7. So it's going to be 0.7. Right, so now you can see that what kind of color we got, and now you can see that we can see the text. And this is actually the last rule in the CSS. So we're not going to be returning in CSS. We're actually going to be only living around over here in the navbar now. Now that we have our navbar brand, which is this, now that we would need to actually place the toggle button, right? So for the smaller screens. So I'm going to call this one a toggler. Right, and over here we're just going to say that this is going to be a button, and over here you can see that I'm not doing it right. We're going to say that this is going to be a button over here, and it's going to have a multiple classes again, right? So I'm going to say navbar over here, and we're going to say this is going to be toggler, and then we're going to say that we can close this out. And we're going to say this is going to be a type over here, and we're going to say button, and then it's going to be data toggle. And over here we're going to say data toggle is going to be collapse. And over here we're going to say data target, and the data target is actually going to be a nav, right? And this is the ID that we're going to give ourselves, right? So I just came up with this nav. You can name it whatever you want, but this is going to have to be actually the address of where we're going to be placing the div, right? And over here what we're going to do is within this navbar toggler, we're going to create a span. We're going to say that this is going to have a class over here, class, and we're going to say that this is going to be navbar toggler, and over here icon, and this is going to be a Bootstrap class, obviously, right? And over here you can see that we haven't done anything. That's why it's still sitting over here, but this is going to be the toggler button that we're going to be using, right? So now that we have done with this one, we can actually move on and create the links. So here I'm going to say links, and the first thing we want to do is actually a div that's going to have a few classes. This is going to be collapse class, then we're going to have a navbar collapse, and then we're going to say the justify content end. This is going to push a links to the right, content end, and then we're going to create an ID over here. We're going to say this is going to have ID, and now we need the same one, right? So this is going to be this nav. And over here, we would just need to start placing our links, right? So we have UL with a class of navbar nav, right? Inside here, this is going to be a li with the class of nav item, and within this li we're going to actually have a nav link, right? So we're going to have href that's going to have a class of nav over here link like this. Then we close it out, and let's say that we're going to say that the href is going to be a banner over here, and this is actually going to be going home. So we're going to write it home. And now that we're done with the link over here, what we would need to do is actually copy this, because I've been placing them outside, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say cut over here, and you can see that I want it over here within this container. So if I pass it over here, now you can see now I have my button where I want it to be, right? And you can see that it's going to be working fine. We can toggle it up and down, right? So if I refresh over here, you can see that it's working perfectly like it should be, right? So now with this link, what we would want to do is actually just copy this 1, 2 over here, and then we're going to create over here this different href, right? This is going to be a qualities, right? Qualities, and over here we're going to say this is going to be a portfolio, and over here we're also going to say this is going to be portfolio, and this is going to be qualities. So now that we're done with this, actually we're done with our whole project. And let's just check it out. Maybe what things we might be wondering. Right? So this is going to be the justify content class over here that we added, right? This is going to push the links. And as you can see that it's only going to collapse on a small screen, right? So still on a medium, it's going to stay as a navbar, right? But now as it goes over here to the smaller screen, you can see that we have a collapse one, right? And if you're wondering what is the difference over here, right? So if we place a link over here, it's obviously going to be before the button, right? If we flip it around, then the button is actually going to be here. And we're actually done with the project. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next video.